we the bing bong bunch.
Hello, welcome to the I should have trimmed my beard before we started recording podcast. Clearly, you're not welcome here as your beard looks very good.
Does it?
I think it does. I think it does. And I think mine looks a little ratty at the moment. But, you know, we'll see next time. As usual, we're brought to you by Melbourne Recycled Timber Floorboards. Woo. The best recycled timber floorboards in Melbourne. Crazily enough.
Yeah.
I'm Mason, and this is Lachlan's, or Pock. You can call him what you want. I don't give a shit.
This is a fucking
It's an intro, man. Like, I don't know what else we're gonna dance around and shit. There's not enough room to do that, though. What's been going on, man? Ooh, catch me up on all the cool shit.
Shit, man. Not much. Back at university, which has been interesting. Obviously, COVID making it online again, which is a bit of a bummer, but, like, you know, is what it is.
Yeah.
But because of that, I've been reading a fair few books, which is cool. Funny little side note. Obviously, we're doing a writing podcast, but Mason has only just started fucking reading books again.
Whoa. Way to put me to work, bro.
Like, when was the last... He started reading the book this week?
When
was the last book you read prior to this?
Like, I've started reading the Mistborn book, which, what's it called? The Final Empire. And it's cool so far. I was reading it this morning. Before then, the last book I properly remember reading was 1984, which I think I read 3 years ago. Which I thought it was pretty good, you know, and, I just need to start a book, and then it's like when you turn on a movie and you're pulled in. I just need to start a book, and then I'm in.
I mean, that's the biggest thing in general with almost anything, is just making the start. Like, even yesterday, I sat down to do uni work. I sort of just procrastinating, and then once I actually just started, it was like, okay, it becomes easier.
Yeah,
it's that trope of making it a habit to be like, all right, I'm going to do this thing for 2 minutes, and then it sort of just becomes...
You have to keep piling on.
Yeah, it almost just like gradually builds up, because once you're in the throes of something, your brain can just attach interest and curiosity to the little things and just build. So you end up doing way more than 2 minutes.
But yeah, it's just about getting that, like, all right, I'm just going to force myself to do this 2 minutes, because I don't know, I'm more or less a pretty unmotivated person most of the time, just because I'm kind of lazy. But once I sort of start doing something, or I actually set my mind to something, I find that I can get things done.
Hey man, that's quickly. It. That's what this fucking podcast is about.
Yeah,
you know?
This is something that this story that I'm going to tell pretty soon. I set my mind to it, and I feel pretty good about it, and it's a consistent thing. Well, keeping the gears moving. I'm going to be like 70 and not have dementia. There's a recording of me saying
there's been a lot of chat about keeping your mind active this week amongst the boys.
Now that I've recorded this, you'll see me when I'm 70, dementia or not, and you can chuck this video on my face, and I'll either be like, who's that? Or I'll be like, yeah, I was right.
Tell me if this is a dumb thought. Tell me if this is a dumb thought. I've had this thought for a while now. So I'm 23 years old, right? And say at some point, I get dementia or Alzheimer's or something where my memory is really fickle. And they say that, like, people in that state often they don't remember, people they know well. They don't remember so many different things. If you make it not a daily, weekly, or even monthly practice, but just if you have an awareness of, at this age, in your 20s and gradually through your life, an awareness of, okay, there might come a day where I am not going to remember who I am or who this person is, and then if you think that enough over the course of your life, would that thought in itself not almost
counteract it?
Well, not counteract it, but would it be present in those moments where you don't know what something is, and people are telling you that you do know this person, but you're like, I don't. But then they say you have Alzheimer's, and you're like, man, I remember when I was 20 and when I was 30 and when I was 40, and I thought to myself, if I ever get Alzheimer's and someone's telling me that you do know this person, like, does this make any sense?
It does a little bit,
is this the ramblings of a madman? I think it might be.
A little bit, but the thing is with Alzheimer's, it's not that you just... I don't remember you. You also don't remember how to, like, brush your teeth. You don't remember how to do... Like, you don't remember... Like, it's literally your brain withering away, which is why I do think that maybe constantly looking back and remembering things would help, only because it does keep your mind active to an extent.
Yeah.
That's the same reason that
Yeah.
reading or doing like work and shit and actually keeping your mind moving, keeping the gears turning and not sort of rusting away, it's literally like a muscle. Like if I haven't been working out too much recently, and let's say that I never work out again, I'm going to be old and frail and not be able to move because I've just not worked out the muscles, and it's too late at that point. Whereas I imagine the brain's sort of similar. You keep flexing your brain, whether it's looking back on old memories or doing puzzles and shit, or just even talking to people. But then again, some people they're more inclined to get it regardless of anything. Like is hereditary the right word?
Yeah, just poor genetics.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but I just meant it in, like you say, if you forget to brush your teeth or something like that.
Not so that you forget to brush, you forget how to brush your teeth.
Yeah. But there's an awareness of the task at hand, because it's something you do daily. So if you were to think every day, like, okay, I might wake up tomorrow and not remember so many different things, and be aware that might happen, will make it easier to I don't know.
This is something that we should look into, because everything
there's no way to conduct.
I'm sure there's research on this that's like
what?
No,
so they're like, okay, you're 20 years old.
No, I don't mean that. I think there's research on like Alzheimer's patients, what they forget and what they've been doing and what they were predisposed to. Shit like that. You can't be like, all right, we're going to have this kid not ever remember anything and see if he gets Alzheimer's in 30 years. I don't mean that. But there's probably some method of understanding around it. It's one of those ones that we don't really understand at this point. But then again, there's tests you can do that apparently show you if you're going to get it. And I don't think I'd want to do that test.
I don't think I'd want to do that either.
It's like, that's like knowing when you're
but maybe you would. And then you would, like, as I've been saying...
Fight it?
Not actively fight it, but... train yourself, make it a daily habit to be like, all right, I'm not going to remember things.
Yeah, maybe.
How am I going to?
Okay.
And just being that awareness of potentially not remembering things. So when it does happen, you're like, shit, man, this was going to happen.
Oh, God.
Because that thought is a daily thing. It's in your head.
God, I don't want to think about
anyway,
this.
that is just, I don't know why.
We went down.
I've thought about that constantly, not constantly, but on and off for years now.
It's a scary
Hey, man,
thought.
look, if I'm 70 and I get, something like that, and I seem to be in a state where I'm like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. It's cool, whatever.
But you won't
And it
even know
worked.
that. You won't. But if you're in that state, you
But I
won't know.
might, because I've thought about it.
But you'll never know if you were going to get it because
life.
you didn't get it because you were fighting it the whole... Oh, man. It's like one of... It's... Oh, okay. Your point is?
You know what? My point doesn't matter anymore. This is a podcast about writing, not about trying to fight Alzheimer's when you're 23.
We'll put dementia patient in there at some point and we can write a story. You can make a beautiful story about that, I'm sure.
I saw a video earlier this year about... There's an album out there that's meant to be almost like a musical representation of what it's like to get dementia. I can't remember what it's called.
It keeps spiraling down. Doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's a really long one. I remember.
It's a really long album. There's no lyrics.
It's just the
like
music, and it's like the demise
apparently
of someone.
it's haunting.
There's that, and there's also, you've seen the movie Memento, right?
I have,
that's not so much dementia, but that's like the idea of memory loss and how confused you can be. That's before.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
When
And
you really
writing like that is interesting, and that could be like a challenge for us. Maybe that could be on the wheel. Like, you have to write it, but the character can't have memories or some shit.
Yeah, cool.
Should we get into the stories?
Yeah,
or
before we do, just speaking on the wheel, send through some personal messages, some comments about more potential handicaps to put on the wheel. I know we haven't spun it yet. I'm hoping that changes today.
We'll see. We got the trivia.
I've got a
questions
question
ready.
for Mason that he might know.
Yours, I worded mine to confuse you a little bit intentionally.
I know for a fact that you're aware of the answer to this question because I've seen you answer it before, but I think that you haven't given it enough credence to remember.
That's fair, but I give weird things too much credence.
Fucking oath. Yeah. That's your special.
Also, along the lines of that, we want to do some more creative stuff. Maybe we want to make some music. We want to make some art. If you leave a comment giving us a few prompts or something, prod us in the right direction.
Yeah. Better surmise than that.
Please go.
I would say
please.
The idea for this new segment that we sort of came up with this week was to almost to not counteract, but to add a different level of creativity to what this podcast is, which is facing off. Individual creativity is to come together for a joint segment where we both work on something. and bring into the podcast. And that idea at the moment is sort of along the lines of other creative hobbies and interests that we find like quite compelling, which is music for Mason and design for me. So yeah, as Mason said, any sort of can be as bizarre as you want. Obviously, the stories on this podcast are already bizarre, so in line with that, it's great. Anything that you think might be fun and interesting to hear, we'll sort of like together both make or work on a piece of music and lyrics and artwork
or some visual to go along
for some
with
sort
it,
of like song or something.
Something a bit of fun,
It's a very much like still in the grindhouse segment idea.
But the thing is, if someone comments and just says, "Hey, do a song like this with some an art piece that goes along with it like this," then we just work with that.
Or even if you just comment a word, I'll just
one
take
word.
a word.
One
Just
word.
give us a word.
You can be funny. You can say something stupid,
and then
we'll
you get
try and
credit.
roll with it.
You get credit.
Yeah, you'll be a producer. Also, before I read my story, we'll announce the winner of episode 1. Thanks to everyone for watching and liking and shit. The winner is my man over here, 1 by 1 vote.
Woo!
Which is pretty close. Proud of you. So,
thanks, man. I think you got me in week 2, though. I'll be honest.
I got my fingers crossed, but we need more people watching week 2's episodes. There's not been as many views, and it's disappointing. But look at me getting all. I'm gonna share it again. Anyway, ding! A little 0 just popped up next to me, and the number 1 popped up next to you.
Yep.
And you're gonna have to send me the font to use because I want to keep it consistent.
Yeah, cool.
But
if I happen to win week 2's story, then this story.
Then
now.
you fucking
Well, it's a best of 3, so
if you win last week's,
this one almost becomes irrelevant.
This one will start a new one. Let's say.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't know.
We'll see how we feel because that might be too much then if you keep winning or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how we go.
But no, I think Mason's probably going to take week 2. I think it was the better story.
All right. Well. I liked it. Anyway, I want to get into my story today because I like it. So my prompts were a determined table with 2 legs in a town made of socks where a scientist has accidentally unleashed a giant carnivorous baby. Crazy, right? Whoa, what drugs were they smoking when they thought of that?
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, all right. Let's get into it. Finally, our work will pay off! Sparks were flying around the room as the proud man readjusted his goggles. He stood tall in his lab coat and with a large smile continued watching the sparks and the subject amongst it all. He ignored the crying. After so many attempts, he was pretty much numb to it. Months of political back and forth and years of seismotronic research, his and the mayor's ambitions had almost reached their peak. Yeah, just relax a bit, why don't ya? Last time you said that, we had to clean the floor and the roof. If you remember correctly. A man in a rather fancy-looking suit steps out of the shadows. Besides him are a few vials with different variables listed. Too much to get into at this point. The scientist in the goggles scoffed at him. "Kick on, you fool! Keep your focus on the politics and let me handle the science. This time is different." Mayor Kick-On rolled his eyes, but deep down he could tell. He'd never seen Professor G this confident. It seemed his plan was coming together. "Now, Kick-On! Throw me the vegetable variable, if you will." The mayor turned around and grabbed a vial, throwing it to him. The professor poured it into a tube, and the sparks went from yellow to green. The process is near complete. "Let me know how it goes, G. Congress will be awaiting my return." The professor waves him away, paying little attention. A few minutes pass from Kick-On's exit. The professor marvels at his creation as it sleeps, soon to be awoken. As he begins stepping towards it, he bumped the vial that the mayor had thrown him to the floor. He picked it up and noticed something. It read, "Meat variable." Oh no, this is not good. He turns around and runs towards the emergency shutdown button, but as he hits it, it's too late. The creature has awoken. Meanwhile, Grapho had exhausted most of his energy making his way into town, and as he arrived, he saw a dimly lit bar on the corner. He figured he may as well grab a drink before continuing forward. He wasn't sure where he was headed, all he knew was that he was determined to find something to show his worth. You see, Grapho is a table, but not just any table. He is a table with only 2 legs, and throughout his whole life has had to try harder than all of the other tables to prove himself. Yet time and time again, his father reminds him of his ailments and failures. Grapho ran away to find his purpose and prove to his dad how much value he can bring to the world. But first, a drink. As he steps in, he's immediately welcomed by the bartender. It seems business is slow tonight.
Ah, my good man, come take a seat up front with me. It's been a long night and I could use the company.
Grapho was a bit taken aback by the bartender. He wasn't used to them being so polite or caring whatsoever about patrons, but he was thirsty, so he sat down.
I'll grab a Rivers Royal, thanks.
Geez, mate, that's pretty strong. Doesn't alcohol stain tables?
No, it just dissolves the varnish. I've got some on hand, so no stress.
The bartender laughs as he pours the drinks. He turns around and places the bottle back on the shelf.
I like you, mate. What's your name?
Grapho.
Oh, I get it. 'Cause you're a table. Like a graph.
Grapho never considered this possibility. His dad really was a dick.
I'll just add that to the list then.
The bartender looked at him a bit puzzled.
List of what?
List of reasons I gotta prove myself.
The bartender turned back around and poured himself a drink.
I'm in the same boat. It's actually the reason I opened up this bar. Dad never thought I'd amount to much.
He looks around at the empty bar.
I guess he may have had a point.
The two tap their glasses together and drink. As the bartender grabs and runs to grab a chaser, Grapho thinks about what he just said. The two of them seemed to be in similar situations. It was nice to know someone knew how he felt, and why he felt that way. The bartender returns with a can of Pepsi, which Grapho kindly rejects.
Is it normally this quiet?
Oh, a few months ago it was popping here, but since that new law about everything needing to be made of socks passed, I guess people just aren't in drinking moods. I mean, I'm sure your chair is comfy, but a sock chair can barely support a table, let alone a human.
I was gonna ask, why is everything made of socks?
No one really knows, but Mayor Kick-On somehow managed to sell it to the people. I have my personal theories and suspicions on it, but I guess only time will tell.
The two had a few more drinks and became more acquainted. Grapho told him a bit about his family, and the bartender did that funny thing where you walk behind a short wall, being the bar counter, and pretend that you're going downstairs. Despite the empty atmosphere, they made the most of it. However, their fun was soon interrupted. The two heard a massive bang from outside, followed by the sound of crumbling. They ran out and saw what could only be described as a giant baby climbing out of some tall castle. The bartender turned to Grapho.
Of all my suspicions, this was like the second most unlikely.
He turned back to the baby, and they saw it reaching into buildings, grabbing man, woman, and child, and eating them. Yet its hunger did not seem satiated, as it tore through a few more buildings.
Come back inside! There's a hidden passage behind the counter that'll get us out of here!
The bartender led Grapho behind the bar, and sure enough, there was a staircase down. As they descended, they heard families being torn apart while a whining baby devoured them. The bartender led Grapho through the underground tunnel. He could still hear the sounds from above.
Made this before the whole sock thing. If we keep going down, we'll be on the outskirts of town and can get out of here. Maybe summon some help.
Grapho stopped walking.
What's up, mate? We gotta keep moving.
Grapho felt wrong. He was determined to survive, but hearing those people get eaten shook him. Part of him was determined to help.
We gotta go back. Those people need us.
Mate, did you see that thing?
Grapho pictured his father.
I know, but this is exactly what he'd expect me to do.
The bartender looked at him and saw his determination. He nodded. The two started running back and made it to the bar, which had now been reduced to sock rubble. Digging their way out, they saw the baby reaching towards a neighbouring building. Grapho started shouting, and the baby turned towards him, roared out into the air, and began approaching the two of them.
Alright, Grapho, we got his attention, now what?
Grapho looked around for something to attack it with, or any sort of environmental advantage they could take.
Everything's made of socks. There's no way we can hurt it.
The bartender looked towards Grapho.
Not everything.
He quickly started running towards the baby.
Trust me, this'll hurt me more than it'll hurt you.
He tackled into the baby's ankle, causing it to topple over. Grapho saw the baby falling and wondered what the hell took the bartender over. Why did he trip the baby? It was going to crush the both of them. Right as the baby got closer, he realised why. The side of the baby's head hit Grapho first, and due to him only having 2 legs, his corners were pointing in an upwards angle, piercing the baby's skull, killing it instantly. The town had been saved. Grapho had little time to celebrate and ran towards the baby's fallen ankle, trying to lift it off the bartender, but to no avail.
It's okay, Grapho. We proved our dad's wrong.
He reached towards Grapho's leg and held it tightly.
I'm only glad the price wasn't the both of us.
Grapho was lost for words as his tears welled up.
Make sure you tell him he was wrong.
The bartender's grip loosened. Mayor Kikon placed his Rubik's Cube down. He always fidgeted with it when he was stressed, but now he had to face the sharks. He stepped into center stage, and the crowd went silent. His furrowed brow never lifting, not as if he was disappointed about the situation, it was more so his poor attempt to hide his anger. His disdain for the people who both elected him in and supported his Socktown decision was apparent, and now that they knew the truth behind the socks, there was no chance for him.
I have concluded that because of the Babygate matter, I may not have the support of Congress that I would consider necessary to back the very difficult decisions and carry out the duties of this office in the way the interests of the town would require.
He steps down from the stage, ignoring the questions of the people. Why commission a giant baby? Has Professor G been apprehended, and if not, where is he hiding? Why is Kikon not being apprehended himself? Perhaps Kikon knew, but the people, they'll never know. Camera flashes were blinding Grapho as he stood on a podium. Besides him, a woman prepared to talk to him about the incident. The cameraman gave her a thumbs up.
We've just gotten word of the mayor's resignation due to the Babygate scandal. But perhaps it's this table here who would be better fit for the role. A table that decided his handicap wouldn't stop him from saving this thankful town. You've won the hearts and gratitude of everyone here. Is there anything you would like to say?
Grapho thought for a moment. He thought of the bartender that gave him his chance to prove both his determination and his worth. Perhaps both their fathers were watching the broadcast. He took the microphone off the newscaster, looked down the barrel of the camera and said, "Fuck you, Dad." The end. Did you enjoy that?
I did. The ending was... Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah. I thought of the premise and I was like, that's how I'm ending it. I gotta work my way there, but that's how it's ending. And this time I color-coded every single line so I could try and maintain consistent accents, but I still think I fucked up a little bit.
A little bit, but like, no, it was good though. No, like, I wouldn't even say you fucked up. That was cool.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts. At the end,
Yeah.
so the giant baby was part of the government originally.
Well, it was
Commissioner Giant.
It was commissioned by the mayor, but we don't know.
Oh, I thought you said commissioner.
Oh no, sorry. I said
like...
why commission a giant baby? Why did the mayor commission that from the professor?
Yep. Yeah, cool. So many moments in the story where I go, this is just remembering the character as a table with two legs. I'm like, okay, so this thing, its legs are like limbs where it can just, like, it can be drinking. It can. He tries to lift the baby's ankle off the guy.
Okay,
like, there's so many things where you go, how does that work?
It works in writing, right? Because have you ever seen Happy Tree Friends?
Yeah, not for a long time.
Okay,
yeah.
there was a character with no hands, right? And part of the joke was he couldn't do anything without his hands, but every episode would open up with him showing off what he's just built. And you're like, how did he build that? He has no hands. I sort of figured like, oh, he's having a drink, but he's a table. You don't acknowledge he's a table until it's important that he's a table.
Yeah.
And then in other moments, he's just...
That like... Look, this is, like, the nature of the story is funny. So, like, it works. But this is so, like...
No, that's
silly.
totally fair.
And then, like, in the bar, the bartender says something like, oh, like, they're talking about how the town's made of socks. And he's like, yeah, the socks, they can barely support a table. Like the sock chairs or whatever. And then, how the hell does a giant baby climb out of a tower made of socks without crumbling it?
Well, it did crumble. But you know, it's Sock Tower. It's such a fucked premise.
I know. I'm just, like, picking at things here.
That's fair.
The stare gag, I was like, this is so dumb. Why is it in here? And then it actually had a point. I was like, okay, cool.
I'm glad you appreciated that.
Trying to imagine what the table looked like when it was quote unquote shouting. Like, what's its mouth? Like, I mean, I'm just trying to, like, picture it.
I guess the way I sort of picture it...
Like this table here, is there a mouth in the middle of it? Is it, like, the edge of it?
Yeah, I sort of pictured it, the edge... Here's the two legs, and there's the edge, and the mouth and face is there, and he sort of just drags the lower end forward.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured it, but then again, half the time he's written as a fucking human.
Yeah. The baby's death is so... It's so good.
I thought of the
funny.
baby's death when we pulled
because
the prompts.
it's oh really?
Yeah, I was like, that has to be how he goes out.
Dude, it's so dark because, like,
it's a baby.
Because, like, I wrote a story about how a baby hits his head on the side of a table and dies. That's what he's done.
Pretty much, yeah.
Except, like, good on... That baby was a dick.
The baby had no choice. You know, he got the meat vegetable instead of the meat variable
It's pretty
instead
sad,
of the vegetable
though.
variable.
Because,
It's sad.
like, how sentient was the... It's a baby. you
Because
know?
that's the thing. At the start, the professor's done this a few times before, and that's why he doesn't give a shit anymore. Because he's so used to the crying.
Yeah.
Very dark.
Dude.
And that speech that the mayor gave at the end, that's actually the president. I think it's Nixon. It's his resignation speech.
Oh,
but
really?
I reworded it a bit for Babygate instead of Watergate.
Babygate, yeah.
And that's why, like, I'm reading through that. I'm like, this is stupid. This doesn't make sense. But it's funny to me.
I'm surprised the table didn't break as well when the baby's head fell on it. Like, that's a strong fucking table.
Hey, man.
I know you said the angle of the table only having 2 legs worked into it, but man.
It's a baby, a little soft spot.
But it's a giant baby,
Yeah,
bro.
it's giant,
It's a
but
skull. It's
It's
bone.
just got a massive soft spot then. It's just an even bigger spot to...
Oh.
Yeah. Babies, like, I love babies. I don't want them to die. Like, just, if I have
I
to make
love
that
babies.
clear.
I don't want them to die.
That's my,
Hey, man, like
that's
a-
my position.
That's
If
cool,
you
that's
disagree,
cool.
it's weird.
No, I don't disagree with that.
But, yeah, there's my story.
Yeah, those are all the notes I had in it.
Excellent.
Except there was one thing at the start
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
go.
You called the scientist a proud man.
I did.
Yeah. I always find those descriptions in stories where I get that our stories are like, you know, maybe a couple thousand words and not super long. But telling what a character is rather than showing it
No, that's fair.
is
Yeah.
always a bit like, how's he proud? Like,
'Cause I didn't even have to say he was proud because his sentence was proud. I could have literally just dropped the word proud
Yeah.
there because I end up describing who he is right afterwards. But even
That's
when I
the
wrote
thing.
that, I was like, that was like first draft shit, and
Yeah.
I just left it.
No, look, no, like it's the nature of these stories. They're not perfect. That's the whole idea.
This
It's
is
yeah.
quick.
No, yeah, no, 100%, man.
A to B.
I'm sure
you
there's
know?
inconsistencies in my story. Like, dude, when I was there was multiple times writing my story because my character's a deaf corn where I forgot he was deaf. And he's like, he's hearing things. I'm like, fuck. So I had to put like big, bold words in all the pages. Just, he's deaf. Just as a reminder to myself. Because there's so many moments where I was like...
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, now before you start your story, I'm just going to clap to get the audience's attention, and also because we have to start a new recording. Hey guys, are you still watching? All right, cool, you're still with us.
Okay.
Back to you, bro. So what were your prompts
So
again?
my prompts were... My character is a deaf corn on Bug Island, and he wants to be the number one of whatever he is. Honestly, I think the best part of my story this week is the title I've given it. It is shocking how perfect this title is.
Shall we hear it now? Or
Yeah, no, I'm going to give it to you. But just these are the facts of my story, right? I'll reiterate. Deaf. He's a corn, and he wants to be the number one of whatever he is. So my story this week is titled Deaf Corn 1.
You win. Fuck you. That's so good.
It's perfect.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Deaf Corn 1.
Because I was like, when you were saying, "Oh, I got a perfect title," I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool, fine, yeah." Oh, no, that's perfect. All right, it's all yours, bro.
Thanks, bro. Okay. Checking out my... Fuck. I'm sorry. Probably sounds like shit. Okay. I wrote down the wrong pipe. That was so poorly timed.
I might edit this bit out, and we'll just cut to the song.
Okay. I stumbled off the end of the swaying silk, barely managing to fall carefully enough to stop myself from rolling off the edge of the honeycomb outcropping. I imagined Yana's screams from behind me. If the white crawler wasn't already eating her, it was close behind. I pushed myself back up onto my feet, a sharp pain rippling up my side. I guess I must have been so focused on our escape I hadn't stopped to notice it. Looking down, I could see my own cob, a good dozen kernels ripped free, corn blood still lingering in the open wound. I looked away, trying to ignore the pain. At the other end of the silk bridge, I could see Yana, a white crawler sliding along behind her, the size of a train, the silt beneath it acting as its tracks. Creepy-looking things. I hadn't thought silkworms would have given us nearly as much trouble as the dragonflies. But I'd surely been proved wrong. I hadn't paid much attention to the warnings of the old corn, the ones hiding with Yana in the dragon's nest. In hindsight, it all seems rather foretelling. The Silk Road, as they called it, had been much more difficult to traverse than I had assumed. I watched Yana as she moved with as much pace as she could keep, with the fine balance to avoid slipping from the silk. She was missing more kernels than me, and half of the ones she had left still popped white from her time on the slopes. "Hurry, Yana! I'm gonna cut the bridge!" I held the sharp stone I'd found the day before. It belonged to an unlucky corpse. The poor bastard. All his kernels had popped on his way down the slope with the dragon's nest. Completely sun-dried. He died just a cob in a veritable hellscape. I don't know where he'd found the thing, but I like to think he'd get some satisfaction from his sacrifice if I managed to send the worm to its grave. Yana was almost there. I steadied my hand and held the stone tight against the silk, waiting to cut it and send the worm to its death. The white crawler swerved to the side, looking like it was about to fall over the edge, the serpent-like body clinging to the silk. Damned things with their hooked feet. Yana was only 5 steps away. The worm held itself upside down as it crawled along the silk bridge underneath her. 4 steps away. The worm pulled itself back up along the side of the silk. 3 steps away. I could see Yana's expression. She was surely screaming. 2 steps away. The worm lashed out at Yana with one of its hooks. 1 step away. Yana leapt off the silk, the worm's hook catching her left leg. I cut the silk. I caught a spray of spittle from the creature's maw across my face. It smelt like corn. The worm swung like a pendulum through the dark crevice below. I didn't know for sure if it was the last we'd see of it, but I wasn't going to stick around and find out. I turned to Yana, looking as beat up as I'd seen her. The damn thing had torn her leg clean off. I set her leaning up against one of the honeycombs. She was barely conscious, but I could still read the words on her lips. "I'm sorry I slowed you down, Donald. Damn white crawlers." I watched as she ran her hand across her kernels, feeling the holes that exposed her bare cob, the kernels that had popped, and finally the stump of a leg she had left. I felt awful for the poor girl. I'd helped her get away from the crazy corn hiding away in the dragon's nest, only to drag her across the silk road to die on the edge of the hive, her body a mutilated mess of corn. "Shh. It's okay, Yana. You didn't slow me down at all. I don't think I'd have made it this far without your help. We made it out of the dragon's nest and across the silk road. It's a lot more than most of the corn who get thrown out here could say." She reached out slowly and placed her hand on my face. "I just wish I could have helped you escape. You know, to return the favor. What those corn did to me, it was..." "It's okay, Yana. You don't have to talk anymore. Just close your eyes and rest. We've got a way to go yet." She let go a deep sigh and closed her eyes as she let her arm fall to the side. Another death. No surprise. It seemed like that was all you found out here. After only my first day on Bug Island, it was no wonder why the Corn government used it as a prison for the most notorious criminals. It was more like a killing field. Yana had been a professional hit corn, and a damn good one I'd heard. Yet on the island, she was at the full mercy of the colossal creatures, like a maze in a wildfire. I stood up and headed toward the heart of the hive, my feet sticking slightly to the honeycomb with each step. I took one final look at Yana's body. I had at one time, long ago, been worried about my own death. Seeing what I'd seen on the island so far, it would have been easy to fall right back into it. But something you realize after becoming the youngest leader of the corn mafia in history is that what worries you masters you, and I wasn't about to become a slave to worry, not with what I had planned. I'd seen the hive from the top of the dragon's nest the day I was dropped onto the island. It was obvious then that the only real way out of here was through it. Entering the dense honeycomb tunnels, I was shocked by how intricate and well-formed they were. There was a natural flow to the passageways, curvature in the tunnel's construction. The surface is smooth and flat. Compared to crossing the Silk Road suspended high above a deep, ominous crevice, I was beginning to think that the hive looked to be a nice change of pace, even if I had to be careful of the bees. However, as I rounded a corner in one of the tunnels, I noticed the walls took on a different nature. The smooth honeycomb were overflowing with honey as dense as rubber. I could see, embedded into the honey, frozen in time, were the corpses of others. Corn like me, ones who had made it this far. I stepped cautiously through the passage, looking at the cobs of my fallen criminal brothers, on alert for any sign of whatever did it. In moments like this, I came to resent the fact that I was now deaf. Turns out guns didn't just shoot corn. They shut out your damn eardrums if you weren't careful. I felt like a humming, a trembling. Something was moving in the passage. I turned every which way looking for the source. As I felt its echoes through the honeycomb floor, it looked like, a few meters away, one of the corn stuck in the glue-like honey was still alive, eyes wide and transfixed on me. You're alive! As I got closer, something about the corn seemed familiar. I was certain I'd seen him before. Who are you? And what happened here? The corn, reduced to a face protruding from the wall, let go a howl. Honey kept part of his lips together, but for someone who'd been reading lips since they were only a few kernels tall, it was no real challenge to me.
Conald. Don't tell poor Frederick you've forgotten about him. That's not very nice.
I see now. Frederick Stanley. The last I heard, you left New Corn City for a job out west. Doesn't look like that went too well if you ended up here.
Oh, Conald, you ended up here too. Finally caught, just like your father. I knew it was only a matter of time. You were always too arrogant for your own good. So much for being a child prodigy.
Frederick howled again, leading into a coughing fit, honey slobbering out of his mouth. Someone like you would see it that way, but make no mistake. That's why I'm here. You have no idea what it's like to have the expectations of greatness thrust upon you at birth. My father was the greatest crime boss New Corn City has ever seen. But he wasn't perfect. He got caught. You know what happened after he got caught? He was sent here, to this island. It's been 20 years. Make no mistake, he's dead. But there's one thing he failed to do that I won't. Escape from the world's highest security prison. Or perhaps more accurately put, this place is more like death row on steroids. When I've accomplished that, only then will I be able to proclaim myself as the greatest crime boss that not only New Corn City has ever seen, but the world has ever seen. I looked deeply into Frederick's wide eyes. He stared back at me, not saying a word, a wry smile on his face. I felt another tremble, this time much larger, and from a source outside the passage in the direction I'd come from. Frederick noticed it too. Whatever it was, it must have been making sounds. What's coming? Is it what did this to you?
They all think it's the bees when they first hear it, but how wrong they are. They're the sugar boys. You might want to run. They don't take too kindly to arrogant, filthy, disabled corn like you. Only the strong can be sugar boys.
Sorry, Frederick. I didn't quite catch that last part, on account of the deafness and all. Thanks for the heads up. I had no idea what a sugar boy was, and I didn't plan on waiting around. I continued through the tunnels, finding my way easy enough. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but as long as I was moving forward, that didn't matter. There was something kind of beautiful in the way the sunlight bounced through the hive, shooting through the empty honeycombs like light beams, sparkling against the honey-covered surfaces. I'm sure to many of the other corn who made it this far, the beauty was lost on them. Their thoughts surrendered to fear. For beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them. I should have been paying closer attention. I only just managed to step to the side of the wild swing of a spear that shot out from around a corner. Looking at the spear, it was clearly made of wax. I knew that much, but it still looked capable of doing some damage. At the end of the spear, holding it tightly, was a corn. Whoever he'd been, he'd made it to the hive in pretty good shape. He had most of his kernels left and no signs of popping. There was one distinguishing feature, however. He was coated, head to toe, in honey, glistening like a newborn corn. A sugar boy. Whoa there, slow down. I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to get out of the hive and over to the anthills. The corn just stared at me, eyes wide, eyes like Frederick's. I couldn't trust this corn to be any more sane than he was. I watched, patiently, trying to read his next move. 2 times in a row I should have been paying closer attention. This time I didn't see the other spear coming. Another sugar boy had snuck up behind us and sunk his spear deep into my exposed cob,
right where I'd lost the kernels on the Silk Road. The pain was deep and instant. I fell to my knees and let out a scream. The sugar boys looked to be laughing maniacally, much like Frederick had. I looked up at them as the corn who stabbed me pulled the spear free, the wax head of it snapping off and staying buried deep in my side. The other corn held his spearhead out, pointing it at me. I thought through the pain in that moment that perhaps this was the end. I mean, hey, just because you want something doesn't mean you always get it. Fact of life. I knelt down in a near fugue state, ready to accept my death, watching as the sugar boy pulled the spear back in anticipation. In that moment, too quick for me to fully comprehend, a blur of black and yellow raced across my vision, and the sugar boy was no longer standing in front of me. I could feel my vision fading, barely holding on to my consciousness. I was losing too much corn blood. In the last moment that I can remember, I saw one of the sugar boys running down the tunnel. The other pierced clean through the cob by the stinger of the largest bee you'll ever see. To me, I've never seen a more noble suicide. Corn God, I thank that bee to this day. And that's the end.
All right, I really did like that. I wrote quite a few notes. That's awesome. Good on you for sticking with the voice the whole time. That's like...
Did it change?
No, it didn't. It was really consistent.
Cool.
Especially because you would go to the other characters, and because it's like, you know, a narration type thing, you got to stick with that voice once you start. That was good. I like how you added corn to words. Corn blood.
Dude, I had corn in way more words. I had to cut them out, man.
I think that was like that got corn god, corn blood, hit corn, and corn hit corn was like bam, and then you went to corn mafia.
Yeah.
What else have I got? White crawler. So that's the nickname they've given to the silkworms. Yeah, is that meant to be like White Walker?
I would like that came to my mind, and I was like, I guess it's a lot of people might make that connection, but it wasn't intentionally meant to be that. It was just like, what can you call? Because the silkworms are just white worms.
Yeah, no, White crawler. That's cool.
I was like, yeah.
I think the world building was really good considering your premise and stuff.
I was gonna make a map for Bug Island because I have a map in my head.
That's cool. I like that.
I actually really love this idea for some reason.
It's really cool. Like, it is really, really cool. And I noticed, like, about somehow halfway through, our story's weirdly similar.
The father thing.
There's a father thing.
Yeah,
and there's a disabled main character
I know.
who needs to prove themselves.
It's crazy.
That's a fucking weird parallel there.
Man. Yeah.
Silk Road. Clever.
Thank you.
Very clever.
I had a few...
Like, goddamn.
Yeah, that was one. I was like, I gotta think of more, but I just couldn't.
That was... Okay, when she's doing the steps, I was on the edge of my seat when she's stepping towards, and I like how you threw in the lip reading thing. That was clever.
Yeah.
It made it, and you know, he missed the last thing the other cunt said. I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty funny. What have I got here? Popped kernels. That's a good sort of damage. Like,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
really clever.
I have I actually have corn lore for this thing, bro. Like,
corn lore.
I
I
honestly might continue to write this story in some other thing.
The character Frederick with the Joker laugh. I'm like curious to see his history with the main character. What was the main character's name?
Connell.
You'd think I would have written that because you said that, and I was like, "Fucking Connell, he's back." That's an inside joke. Did I have much else to say? New Corn City, pretty funny. Yeah, I really did enjoy that. I think corn blood is my favorite thing in the world because it's blood that is from a corn.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing, or did you just
No,
to
like
describe blood? You just corn blood.
Well, because I hadn't written corn blood in until basically I'd finished the story, and at the end where he gets stabbed, initially up front. Because he talks about how when he gets off the Silk Road, he's missing a few kernels and he's bleeding.
Yeah, that was cool.
I had juice in the fresh wound on my first draft, and I was like, that just doesn't cut it, you know?
It's like, not visceral enough.
No, because I mean, like, corn is juicy.
It is. Well, corn blood could just be the juice, you know, but you've called it corn blood, and that just works better for the story.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will say, when you mentioned the Sugar Boys, I was like, oh, I'd love to see what this is. He won't get into it. And then you brought them in. And I was like, that's cool. It's like these rogue corn.
Yeah.
That's like really cool. The bee as well. I really did like it.
Thanks,
I'd love to hear what happened before and after. And, you know, he wants to be prove that he's like the best crime boss. It was good. It was real good.
Thanks, man. Okay. No, I'm happy with that one.
No, I think This is like, if people watch this one and vote, I think it'll be pretty tight. It's like,
Yeah, like you said, there's similar aspects to the stories. It's,
like strange parallels.
yeah, it's cool.
I do think yours was a better implementation of the character of what they are. Like, it was a corn.
Yeah.
Whereas mine was just, he's a table. Maybe the other people in my story are tables. You
See,
know?
that's the thing with that I didn't actually mention with your story is the other people. Because in my head, I'm like, they must be people because the baby's carnivorous.
So when I wrote it, I was like, they're people, but it's up to interpretation. I sort of pictured it in the same universe as the pencil.
Yeah, okay.
And actually, in the
Yeah.
same universe as the Flat Earth and Round Earth story. Did you notice anything?
I didn't. Did I miss something?
You may have missed something.
Damn, I have to go back and listen.
But yeah, we'll leave that for now. Those are our stories. That was really fun. I really did like yours.
Yeah, I liked yours, man.
You know what is annoying? I will say, we started this show like, man, we're gonna roast each other's stories so hard, but we're both like pretty good at this.
Well, I mean, because there's no expectations. Because
Yeah,
the
that's
stories are
true.
so
They're so
absurd.
cooked,
I think
yeah.
that's the one thing. That was one of the main things with this podcast was to try and just mitigate any sense of perfectionism. Like things have to be like that's the biggest thing with me personally when it comes to creative stuff is like.
Like you're constantly striving to hit that mark.
Well, it's like
just
you
not
either
consistent.
you do it to perfection or you don't do it at all. So that's
Yeah,
why it's
yeah.
starting so hard, and that's why like doing this where
Limitations are the best thing, honestly. Like
it's like okay, you got to work within this parameter.
in theory, having no limitations is awesome,
Mm.
but then, you're going to just keep striving to something you can't get. But when you're told, hey, do this in this time with a bunch of these, like, weights on your shoulders, it's like, well, I guess I got to do that.
Yeah, man, it's about getting in the reps for storytelling.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But,
that's it.
if, watch this and then vote on the stories, please. Like in the comments below on this YouTube video or go to the Instagram page and like there. Leave a comment and tell us why you think one story was good. Matt, I'm gonna bleep out his last name because like it's just the thing you shouldn't do. Matt, that comment you left, real nice.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the feedback.
It's nice to know that we're being.
Yeah, it's cool to hear what you think about
Yeah.
the stories, like how they compare to each other.
We'd love to see more stuff like that
Yeah.
in the comments. And like I said, you can write in your own stories. We haven't looked at the emails.
We should have
There's
checked
a
the
story
emails,
there.
but I
If
checked
there's
them
a
earlier this
story
week.
in there, we'll put it in the next
Yeah,
episode.
there's one. If you sent one in, I apologize for not checking
That's all
it
right.
today.
That'll be for next time.
We'll do it next week.
But yeah, shall we get to the next? Should we do the prompts or the trivia first? I forget.
We
what
do
the
trivia
order is.
first.
Okay.
We do
Okay.
trivia
Cool.
first.
Should I just go for you now?
No, I want to do you first because you did me first last week.
I did. Yeah. Okay. So trivia thing.
Do you first?
If one of us gets the answer correct and one of us gets it incorrect, the person who gets it incorrect has to spin the wheel of punishment, and then their next story will have a fifth ailment on top of these.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking with that
Go.
is if you just get yours wrong, you have to spin it.
You reckon?
I think it's a bit more. I don't know. I'm starting to think that way.
Okay then. We'll see how we feel after this.
Well, I want to see how we feel before we ask the questions.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, fuck it. Yeah, if I get it wrong and you get it wrong, we both have to spin it once each.
Yeah.
Cool, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right.
I'm nervous.
So, hold on.
I'll get mine up now so I don't,
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
As a rogue in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, what does the ability Uncanny Dodge allow you to do?
Oh, God. Uncanny Dodge. I think if there's, like a friend of your... No. Oh, God. See, it's been so long since we've played, and every time I use this move, I read what it does.
I know. See, like, I know that you've used
Yeah.
it, so I know that part of you knows it.
I'm
but
pretty
I
sure
don't-
if one of your teammates is within 5 feet of you and you get hit, you take like half damage, or you get to roll an extra roll to either mitigate all damage or take half damage. That's going to be my answer.
Incorrect.
Okay, what is the answer?
So, you can use a reaction against someone attacking you if you can see them to halve the attack damage.
Yep, that makes way more sense
Yeah,
because I've
so-
never done what I said.
What you were thinking is more along the lines of the skill
The offensive,
evasion.
yeah.
Evasion skill.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah. Sucked in?
Your question is so much easier. Okay, so I will...
Hey man, fucking know your character.
Fair enough, that's on me.
You have,
Okay,
like 6 skills.
you ready for this?
Yeah.
On May the 7th, in 2013, Logic released his 4th mixtape, which was the 3rd in a particular mixtape trilogy. What was it called?
May 87, 2013. It has to be. Oh. Young Sinatra, Welcome to Forever.
Fuck yeah, you got it. Well
Yeah.
done, man. Well done. I was hoping you were just gonna go with Young Sinatra 3, and I'd be
Nah.
like, eh.
I almost did. I almost said it.
All right, well done, man. I will spin this after we pick the prompts, I think, or should I do it first? What do you think?
First. I
We'll
want to
do
see
it
it
first. Okay.
Yeah, sucked in.
All right. What did I knock? Oh, I don't give a shit. Okay. Do you want to move that?
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah,
so I
yeah.
can get it central. Okay, so I'm now going to spin the wheel.
Exciting.
I'll just hold it so it doesn't fucking.
I can hold it.
You got it as well. Okay. Let us spin. We didn't account for that. I was
Spin
going to
again,
say
spin it
halfway through, what do we do if it lands on black? Oh, should just been a
We
free
better not
pass.
be able. We better not be spinning this 10 times. Come on.
Sexy vampires. I'm fine with that. We were talking about vampires the other day. Dude, I got my vampire lore down, Pat.
We were talking about vampires.
Yeah,
the
we
other
got
day.
some Twilight. We got some Van Helsing. A couple vampires in Guilty Gear. That's actually where it came up, but because I've been talking about it too much, I didn't want to mention it.
Yeah, cool.
All
But
right.
yeah, vampires. Let us know your thoughts. We're
Before
having
you bring them
debate.
down, watch this magic trick. Do you want to do the magic trick this time? 'Cause
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
just
Ready?
Snap your fingers. Oh my god!
That was fucking awful.
Yeah. Okay. You go first.
No. Oh
my God.
You go first.
We need to be consistent with this.
Okay.
Okay.
Who cares?
Yeah, fair. Adjective is big boy, right? Let's
Yep.
go. So, I'm going to be writing about... Oh, fuck. I think I'm going to just pick again because I think I put 2. I'm taking that one.
Jeez.
Okay. An alcoholic.
Nice.
An
nice.
alcoholic.
Father. Stepdad.
I'm sick of writing about fathers.
Stepdad.
An alcoholic devil/demon. That's pretty
Okay.
cool.
You got sexy vampires
Sexy
in there as well.
vampires correlate pretty easily with that, actually. And
That's a cool character.
I do think that's pretty cool. And the setting is a coffee shop. That's fine. And we're gonna add another layer of dirt to this mess.
Oh, this is where it goes off the wall.
This is gonna be pretty hard to implement. Australia has invaded all countries. Now all countries are Australia. I think I wrote that one because that's stupid. Okay, so I'll just reiterate. My character is an alcoholic devil/demon amongst sexy vampires. And it's set in a coffee shop, which I guess is set in Australia because all countries are Australia now that Australia has invaded all countries.
Hell yeah.
I'm fine with that. I think it's almost not interesting enough. It's not weird enough. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of low key. This one.
Well, I mean,
Compared to what
Australia is,
yeah,
the one
compared to
empire.
what we've been writing though, this
yeah.
is
Look,
pretty.
your character has mobility and sort of like.
It has mobility. That's
Yeah, I mean that's just we'll just
Yeah.
leave it there. It has mobility. Okay, so my adjective is short but thick.
represent.
And they are a secret agent. So a short but thick secret agent. Mm-hmm. And the setting for this story is a distant planet. That's vague enough. It's got plenty of room.
That's cool.
And then it's better not be Earth related.
I'm excited.
This is sick. Old people become evil at the age of 75. The world has to find a way to deal with it.
Bro, that works really well.
Dude, that's sick.
Okay, I think I like your prompt more, but I think this will be pretty fun.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of ways that these can go. It seems less restrictive than Def Corn and Two-Legged Chair type beat.
Yeah,
but,
very different stories as well.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I enjoy about
And I think
this.
that'll be good because
Yeah.
it was nice that our stories had so many weird correlations, but I can't imagine these will be too similar.
No, you wouldn't think so.
But we'll see. Maybe they'll all have disappointed fathers.
This be a theme that goes through the whole
Oh
podcast.
my god, this is the Disappointed Father podcast.
Do we have daddy issues? Nah.
Nah, I think we're both all right with that. Yeah. Well, that's the show. Thanks for watching. Anything we should add before we end?
No, I think that was it. I think, we touched on any ideas for a potential collaboration of me and Mason to make some sort of
musical
song,
art,
thing.
whatever.
Just
really.
a word, just
comment
two
a
words.
Word. But if you're gonna comment a word, vote on the story as well, please. Do both.
Yeah,
Do
it means
both.
a lot.
It does mean a lot. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? It's lockdown pretty much everywhere in this goddamn country.
Well, I was also going to say, you know, if you're at work or if you're at home, just chuck it on in the background. You don't even have to look at us. Just like, you know, hear the stories behind it, and then like you hear something you like, maybe go back and re-listen and be like, oh yeah, this is interesting.
That's it.
Yeah, but thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, and look, if unrelated but also pretty relevant, if you're doing it tough in lockdown, shoot us a message. Like, say what's up. We're always happy to have a chat.
Yeah, honestly, human like connection and just talking to people is really underrated. I'll have a bad day and then I'll come home and see you and Jake, and like even just talking to you for a little bit, I'm like, man, this is what I miss. Just like talking to people.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah, it's been a topic of discussion this week. Yeah, but yeah, as I said, to reiterate, just shoot us a message. We're here to have a chat. You want to talk about the podcast or life or anything, or how Mason's alarm just went off in the middle of the podcast, whatever you want. It's
No,
all
that
cool.
was an alarm for the timer for the video thing, so let's quickly end it.
All right,
Thank you so
we're
much
done.
for watching. Bye, fans. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Write Off Podcast, hosted by Lachlan and Mason. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, leave a nice review and follow us. It really helps out. Follow us on Instagram at WriteOffPodcast, and feel free to email us as well at writeoffpodcast@gmail.com. Trust me, it's the right thing to do.